how to live sharply, and enrich and entertain, and prepare your lives non-worry.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo sadanto suchedoye ulahudi samyao sanpatoshi. Wu shang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jue nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wan de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture today. My name is Heng Shi. Today is Sunday, January 31st, here in Australia. It is Saturday night, January 30th, in California, in the Western Hemisphere. And we're going to be looking into the Flower Garland Sutra today. If that suits your fancy, let's dig right in. We are going to be, we're on the very, very last chunk of the 10 stages, the Dashabhumi chapter of the Flower Garland Sutra. We're going to come back to page 74 when we're finished with our invocation. But for the time being, we're going to go right up here and make our request. This is a sincere, real-time invocation. We're hoping that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly will indeed draw near and bless our assembly. So we do the chanting in Chinese at this point. At sometime we're going to have an English language version of this. At the moment, we say Namo Da Fang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Hai Hui Fo Pusa 7 times. And it's right there on the screen if you'd like to try it in Chinese. And back to page 74. Hit it. Here we are. For folks who are wondering what this is, where we are, what this is about, We're looking at a Mahayana sutra called the Flower Garland, the Avatamsaka Sutra. It's said to be the biggest of all the Buddha sutras, not in length, but in volume of content, in variety of content. The topic of the chapter that we're working on is the Bodhisattva, and the Bodhisattva is the hero of the Mahayana tradition, the northern tradition. Bodhisattva is a selfless individual whose life is devoted to helping others get through pain. And the thing that motivates bodhisattvas are two. One is called practices and one is called vows. Practices are all the ways of employing the various yogas that the Buddha, our historical Buddha Shakyamuni, left behind. Methods of taming the mad mind, methods of purifying the six senses, and finding in all things the middle way. Those are the practices. The vows are remarkable bits of, what can you say, mind mystery, mental magic from your heart, from your human heart, my human heart, comes a thought that motivates us and takes us past one lifetime, that somehow pulls us back lifetime after lifetime, it seems. It's a thought like a beacon. In the middle of a foggy, stormy, dangerous night, you see this bright light leading you, and a beacon tower, that's where you want to go. That's the safe harbor, right? Vows are like that. They come out of the mind and direct us back to that place where we recall who we are and what we're about. That's how vows work for bodhisattvas. So those two things, practices and vows, are kind of the hallmark of bodhisattvas. And this chapter that we're in, called the 10 Stages, is a sequential, progressive education for a bodhisattva in training. Could be you, could be me, gender non-specific. The teachings of the 10 Stages chapter are full of practices and inspiring vows. So it's the how-to and kind of the why of a bodhisattva. We're almost done. We're at the very, very end of this 10th stage, called the stage of the Dharma cloud. Fa Yun Di, it's called. And this is in the once you get to the 10th stage, you're not far from a Buddha yourself. There's only a few more steps beyond the 10th stage to Buddhahood, which is the end of the path. That's the success of a life of cultivation. And the explaining this 10th stage is kind of, it's bittersweet, I guess you could say, because there's you really feel like you've touched the goal. This is when you get to the 10th stage, and we're just looking at it, we're reading it, we're exploring, finding out what's in there, right? But when you touch it, there's just this incredible display of the mind, the human mind's potential. That's the sweet part. The bitter part is constantly we're up against this thing called ukasuyi, inconceivable, meaning our ordinary powers of discrimination are constantly bumping up against metaphor because we can't fathom it. It's too much, right? And the metaphors are brilliant. One of the constant ones that we looked at last week, that comes up over and over again, but explored last week, is the ocean, right? The ocean is certainly, in terms of our planet, the ocean is the biggest thing on board planet Earth, various oceans. When you're on a spacecraft looking back, that's the thing that stands out as this the amount of water, and it's unfathomable. And yet, as it says, the rain can rain and rain and rain, but the tides never overflow. The tides come up to the bank and go back out, right? Same way, the Buddha Dharma, the teachings of the Dharma that the Buddha speaks, the 10th stage Bodhisattva's mind can take it all in and never overflow. So there you go. That's the bittersweet part. It's like, I kind of get it and I kind of heave a sigh. In Chinese, they say, 望洋兴叹. You just kind of, how could you ever know that? But at the same time, it's sweet because they say, right, where did the Dharma the Buddha speaks come from? It came from his awakened mind, the human mind. So we're looking at the root and the branch tip at the same time. And the branch tips are magnificent and inconceivable, kind of unfathomable. You can't tell how deep it goes, just like the ocean. So there we are. That's where we are. And we're just about done with the prose part, and we'll have a couple more lectures, and then we launch into the verses part, which takes us over the same material, but does it in verses. So how cool is that, to look at a, sacred text? This is a Buddhist scripture, the words of the Buddha. And it's like, yeah, this is depth psychology. For anybody who's ever wondered, why does my mind go on like that? And anybody who's ever had a poem come out of your mind that didn't exist before, and you wrote it down, and there it was, you wrote a poem. Who has ever been able to forgive someone? Come up with those genuine sense of your heart expanding to allow something that before would have been impermissible, and you understand, you absorb it, you forgive. That's the mind, right? The mind can produce these gems that before were impossible. Well, we're looking at the mind trained and honed and polished and buffed and expanded and understood as never before. That's what the 10 stages is all about. So with that as an intro, let's look at today's passage. What are we talking about today? We're talking about what's called the Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling pearl, the如意珠, it's called. Ready? Here's the Chinese first. Ready? Here we go. We'll read this whole thing in Chinese. 佛子譬如大摩尼珠，有10种性，出过众宝。何等为10？一者从大海出，二者巧匠治理，三者圆满无缺，四者清净离垢，五者内外明彻，六者善巧钻穿，七者观以宝律，八者只在琉璃高创之上，九者普放一切种种光明，十者能随王意而众宝物，如众生心充满其愿。What did he say? Let's find out. Here we go. Disciples of the Buddha, it is like the nature of a large mani pearl has 10 inherent qualities, whereby it surpasses the many other jewels. What are these 10? 1, it emerges from the ocean. 2, it's polished by a skilled craftsman. 3, it's perfect and free from flaws. 4, it is pure and free from defilement. 5, it is pristine both inside and out. 6, it is skillfully bored through. 7, it is strung on a fine cord. 8, it's placed on a lofty banner of Vaidurya. 9, it emits radiance on every side. And 10, according to the king's intent, it rains down multitudes of valuable objects. that accord with the thoughts of sentient beings and grants their wishes. All right. Did you get all 10? You're all taking notes, right? There'll be a quiz. No, kidding on that part. So, wish-fulfilling pearl. What is like the wish-fulfilling pearl? Here's an analogy, right? It's the mind of the Bodhisattva. What's the mind of the Bodhisattva like? Well, it's like a wish-fulfilling pearl. And you go, what's a wish-fulfilling pearl like? Haven't seen one. Can I get one on eBay? Etsy? I don't know. Well, can they deliver it? Right? So yeah, Mani pearls are not available online at amazon.com.au. Not yet. So what's a Mani pearl? Well, here is one of those here. I wrote some thoughts about this because it pops up all over. Let's, I need to apply a little bit of discipline here before I launch into my interpretation. Let's look at the text first, okay? Let's go through the text. This is the standard, proper, traditional way of doing good midrash on the Torah. Here we go. Ready? Oh, I should say, this is half, right? We're going to do both halves. The sutra says, we've seen this pattern now. We saw it with, we had oceans, right? Qualities of the ocean. And before that, we had mountains. Remember the 10 mountains? And the 10 mountains linked over to the 10 paramitas and the 10 grounds, etc. And then, like the ocean's qualities, then it said, recalling those 10 qualities of the ocean, here are the 10 stages. Again, we're going to pair them up. Okay, same thing's happening here. First, we're going to hear about large Mani pearls, and then we're going to go to pair it up with the 10 stages. Okay, so this is the first half. That's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so a large Mani pearl has 10 inherent qualities that make it better than other gems. Okay, now at this point, my tendency would be to go, whoa, what's a Mani pearl? I'm going to wait. I'm going to go through the text first, then come back, okay? So what we know about Mani pearls, according to the Avatamsaka, is the following. One, it comes out of the ocean. It's an undersea gem, a marine treasure. You run into any while you're sailing, Ben? Any Mani pearls pop up out of the Tasman Sea? Or there we go. So this is a marine gem. It comes out. If it's a pearl, maybe it's a Japanese pearl diver. Maybe there's a clan of Japanese women, mostly, but also a few men, who from childhood go into the frigid ocean and come up with pearls. They're pearl divers. Somebody has to pull it out of the ocean. Last week we learned that the ocean holds priceless gems. This is one of them. And then it's given to a craftsman. And oh my goodness, wow. One of my mentors, Professor Birnbaum, talked about his apprenticeship in New York as a diamond smith, as a jeweler, but particularly diamonds. And he told me the steps. There are certain individuals, largely European Jews, interestingly. That's a craft that and a trade and a guild that passed on from teacher to student. They are entrusted with these most precious of stones. And Raul told me all of the steps required to get you to where you are able to take a raw diamond, which doesn't look like much when it's raw, and facet it, and first of all, find the right set for it, and bring out different colors and bring out different lights out of it. And the physical challenges for your eyesight, because you've got this loop and you're leaning over and you make tiny changes on this infinitely valuable stone, and if you screw up, So being, Professor Birnbaum told me all about the training required. And at a certain point, he said, you go from apprentice, to novice, to journeyman, to master. Definitely there are stages. And when you get to a certain point, you can start making your own settings, making your own designs. And from your hands comes jewelry that people, give much money to own or give as gifts, So a skilled craftsman is required for the Mani Pearl. Then it is tumbled and polished. Here in Australia, it's opals, right? Cobra Pedy. Opals come out of Cobra Pedy, where it's 40 degrees centigrade in the summer. And to take any kind of an ordinary gem, not a diamond, not a beautiful opal, but to go from the raw stone to gem quality, make it perfect and free from flaws, takes real work. And there are certain stones that you put it into a tumbler machine and it tumbles and tumbles, and using electricity and mechanism to polish the stone. Pure and free from defilement, pristine inside and out. So perfect, free from flaws, free from defilement, and pristine. Those I take are 3 stages in transforming a raw pearl or gem into something priceless. Okay, then look, you have to bore it through. You have to take something harder than the Mani Pearl, and precisely because you can crack it, you can ruin it, you go through, so that you can string it on a fine cord. And at that point, it is no longer merely a natural item. At that point, human skill has been applied. It has been transformed through human artifice, through craftsmanship, into a function. Then it's put on a banner of Vaidurya, Liuli. People wonder what Vaidurya is, and it's quite an argument among scholars. But a Vaidurya banner is itself a valuable object, but putting the Mani Pearl there is, again, you're preparing it to do what Mani Pearls do when the king gets hold of it. And at this point, you offer it to the king, and the Mani Pearl radiates. Light is shed by this gem. And look at number 10. Number 10 is like, wait. Multitudes of valuable objects come down according to what sentient beings wish for, and it grants their wishes according to the king's intent. It's like, this is not just an ordinary stone, is it? This is like something very special. Okay, So in these 10 items, we've gone on a journey with something pulled out of the ocean. And, you know, when I was growing up in the hardscrabble, formerly ocean bottom, flat land of northwestern Ohio, right where it meets Michigan, the only thing coming out of the ground that could excite 8-year-old explorers was quartz crystals. And I remember just the 水镜, 不是水镜吗? The wonder and the magic for an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old with a garden trowel, mom's gardening trowel, looking at the backyard and thinking, treasure, there's treasure in there. And I don't remember whether my brother Steve was into this or not. I certainly was. And I would start digging. And of course, if you dug up the backyard, Mom and Dad were very unhappy. So I would go across the driveway. We had a strip across the driveway that was kind of like, didn't matter if I dug holes there. So I would start digging holes. And sure enough, I would find quartz crystals, small and big, and bottle caps, and pieces of broken glass, and things that were somehow had been buried. And it was enough to set my imagination moving to realize, wow, this was an adventure, because why? You didn't know what was there, and if you looked, you could find it. Right? The thrill of discovery, discovering something unknown that might be really valuable. Of course, what we were looking for was Indian arrowheads. And flashing forward to the year 2000, when, year 1991 and 92, when I was stationed in our brand new monastery in Maryland, Potomac, Maryland. And this was called Avatamsaka Vihara, and it was a house. Potomac, Maryland, especially where we were on River Road, we were about 30 miles from Washington, D.C., from the capital. But we were on the banks of the Potomac River, and this house was on Murdoch Mill, on Beale Mountain Road, not far from the water filtration plant, which was a place where the Potomac River bent and changed course. And if you're exploring in the ground to dig things up, what you're likely to find if you go down from our driveway, our monastery, Avatamsaka Vihara, down to the tributary of the Potomac River, you're liable to find Civil War skulls and skeletons from the Indian Wars, because the Potomac River, especially where it bends there, is a major watercourse, and it was a battleground for the war between the states in America, the Civil War. It was a boundary where if when Mosby's Rangers, for example, the cavalry, marauding Southern Confederate cavalry, when they crossed the Potomac to do their raids into the Union land, that was bold. And if they could make it back across the Potomac, they were safe, because that was the Army of Virginia. That was the Southern Army, and so Southern Territory. So anyway, lots and lots of history. And I was very aware that the land I was standing on in Potomac, Maryland, had much, much, much more bloodshed of America's bloody history than we had up in Toledo, Ohio, where I was an 8-year-old digging up, quartz crystal. The sense of exploration was the same, the sense of wonder as something came out of the ground that only because you dug it up, it had been there, but what was it? And what came to mind later was this wonderful formula that came from Chinese science. And people don't necessarily immediately put China and science together in the same sentence. But that's only ignorance in the West, because as Joseph Needham in his masterwork, Science and Civilization in China, revealed, China had profound scientific disciplines and discoveries of things like eclipses. The Chinese were predicting eclipses in the Han Dynasty, right? Before the 2nd century of the Common Era. Their celestial tables go back that far. The Chinese had gunpowder early on, but they never used it for weapons. They merged their scientific discoveries with a humane sense of virtue and the value of human life. So Chinese navigation, they think it may well be the case that Chinese sailors reached North America long before Columbus did, right? They landed in Mexico, they think, and it was a Buddhist monk. They had Buddhist monks on board as they were navigating from the stars, so don't look down on Chinese science. So this idea that the wonderful sense of exploration that can be that motivated me as an 8-year-old was very satisfied by one of the tropes, you could say, one of the memes, one of the standards of Chinese science, which says, if you want to know what something is, ask 3 questions. Explore its ti, its xiang, and its yong, and you have a pretty good chance of understanding it. This is how Chinese science explored the natural world. What is ti? Ti is, what is it made of? So let's do it. Well, there's ti, there's xiang, what does it look like? What is its appearance? And then yong, what does it do? So if you can analyze something in terms of what it's made of, how it looks, and how it functions, you got a pretty good sense of what it is. There's arguably a 4th one, which is, what is it? It's Ming. What is it called? That's another, that takes us into the realm of the mind and philosophy. So let's look at the Mani pearl, the Mani jewel, the Mani gem. It's not always a pearl. We don't know what Mani is, but if we look at the Avatamsaka's description, we can answer some of it. So what is it made of? Well, it's an ocean gem that can be fashioned by craftspeople, kind of like gold. It can be purified and refined. And the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 talk about its substance. The 7 and 8, right? 9 gives us xiang. What does it look like? It gleams. It emits light. And then for yong, for the function, is actually 9 and 10. It radiates, and then it's there to satisfy wishes. It responds to the king. So, that's the Mani pearl somehow responds to human interaction, but its function is to give you what you want. To give you what you want. All right? Ti xiang yong. Its Somehow it's an aquatic gem, marine gem, comes out of the ocean. It's been fashioned how it looks, and its function is to satisfy your wishes. All right, let's take a look here. I did some research. I'll just show it to you. It's a chintamani, meaning wish-fulfilling jewel. It appears in Buddhist traditions. It appears in Hindu traditions. Some people call it the equivalent of the philosopher's stone in Western alchemy. Now, we're not going to go there today, but for extra credit, those of you who want to get points for your final exam, you can tell us about the philosopher's stone. But the mani pearl, the chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem, pops up in Buddhist sutras, like the flower garland. Okay, hold on there. Wait. Do we want to look at a mani pearl? Yes, we do, Dharma Master. Hello there. Here we are. Take a look at a mani pearl. Here it is. Oh, bring it out so we can pop it up. Bigger. There we are. Bigger, please. Who is this? This is Earth Treasury Bodhisattva. Dizampusa. Look what he's got in his hand. That's a gem. And it's not suspended on a Vaidurya banner, but Earth Store Bodhisattva holds one. There's another one. Wait a sec. No. No. Okay, I got it. There's another, a seated Earth Store Bodhisattva where he's got the pearl right in his lap. So here's an artistic depiction of what a mani pearl might look like. And it's in the hands of a bodhisattva, interestingly. So in Buddhism, it is held by bodhisattvas, Avalokiteshvara and Kshitigarbha. It's also in the Tibetan tradition on Tibetan prayer flags. There is a dharani, there's a mantra that's connected to the wish-fulfilling pearl. And Buddhist tradition says when you get the wisdom of the Buddha, you turn afflictions into bodhi with the mani pearl. And if you get the mani pearl, you can see all the way to the Pure Land at death. In Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the Chintamani is depicted as a luminous pearl, and it's in the possession of several different forms of the Buddha. Okay, so far so good. What else? Hinduism says that Vishnu and Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, possess the mani pearl. It's a fabulous jewel in the possession of Vishnu when he appears as Kaustubha Mani, or on the forehead of the dragon king, called a dragon's pearl, or the forehead of the Mahakara. The Yoga Vashishta, written in the 10th century, has a story about the Chintamani. Hindu Vishnu Purana, that's a text, talks about the Shayamanta jewel that gives prosperity to the owner and encapsulates the clan system. That's an ancient, look, first century, first 1,000 years. In Japan, Lakshmi is depicted with the Rui Baozhu in her hand. Okay, there we go. More definitions. It's a magical jewel, fulfills your wishes, according to your desires, clothing, food manifested, sickness and suffering removed, purifies water. It is obtained from the dragon king of the sea. All right, and there's another Buddhist tradition that says they fell out of the sky. Okay, so so far so good. We've learned that this thing that we just met in the Avatamsaka Sutra has a history. It's in the lore of both Buddhism and Hinduism. So in India, it was well known, but also in China. In China, interestingly, where do we find the Mani pearl in China? We find it with dragons. Dragons. Oh man, oh man. Let me show you what I mean. When you find a dragon in the Chinese tradition, you will find a pearl. Is it the same? It is. It's the wish-fulfilling pearl, the如意珠. Look at this dragon. He is focused on his pearl. More. You want to see some more? How about this? Here's a dragon with his pearl. They are inseparable. Dragons focus on their pearls, according to Chinese folklore. Okay, you can see. And they're always baking them, tending them with their flames, right? Oh, I got a bunch here. Check this one out. I like the expression on this dragon. He is totally besotted by his pearl, right? If you can get a pearl away from a dragon, that better be careful, because that dragon's going to pursue you, for one. But you have a treasure. What are we talking about? This is Chinese folklore. Okay, but it is profoundly there. Look, there's the pearl, there's the dragon. Look at his gaze, right? He is intent. There's coming out of the ocean. So if we're following this line, could it be that this pearl that comes out of the ocean came from the dragon? Did the dragon permit you, or did you steal it? Or, right? Look at this Google-eyed dragon focused on his pearl. Chinese dragons are so cool. And as people describe them who have their eyes open, they say, this is not a mythological animal. This is a spiritual animal. Wait till you open your eyes, you realize they are totally, completely there. Here's one pearl and 3 dragons. All right. So, interesting stuff. That according to the tradition of China, dragons, which are real but invisible spiritual beings whose job it is to regulate the weather and the rain in particular, are focused on their pearls. You don't get one without the other, right? And that's what they want most of all, is their pearl. So, when we get to the Lotus Sutra, the Sadharma Pundarika, 妙法莲华经, the Dharma Flower, right? Otherwise known as the Lotus Sutra, there is a story. There's a story that has to do with dragons and pearls. And the story goes like this. It's about the dragon girl, Long Nu. The dragon girl is often shown together with Sudana, Shancai Tongzi, as attendants on Guanyin. And here is a very marvelous, evocative image that shows us, I wish I had this in higher res. Here's the Buddha. Here are his disciples, typically arhats. Notice the dragons up in the sky, protecting the Buddha. Maybe some over here. There are disciples, arhats, around the Buddha. And what is the Buddha doing? The Buddha is having a conversation with this little being here. Who is that? That is the Dragon King's daughter, known as Dragon Girl. Some say that she's the daughter of Sagara, the Dragon King. Notice she has on an offering plate a pearl. So here is a story from the Lotus Sutra. She has her attendants here because she's the princess. Okay, how does the story go? Story goes, the 12th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, Manjushri Bodhisattva says of the lotus, of the Dragon King's daughter, here's the daughter of the Naga King Sagara, who is only 8 years old. She is wise. Her faculties are sharp. She knows all the faculties and deeds of sentient beings. She has attained the power of mindfulness, not recollection, mindfulness. She preserves all the profound secret treasures of the Buddhas. She enters deep in meditation. She is capable of discerning all dharmas. She instantly produced the Bodhi resolve, the thought for enlightenment, and attained the stage of Utoichan, no further retreat. She has unhindered eloquence. She thinks of sentient beings with as much compassion as if they were her own children. Her virtues are perfect. Her thoughts and explanations are subtle and extensive, merciful, compassionate. She has a harmonious mind. She has attained enlightenment. So, in chapter 12 of the Lotus Sutra, up pops this young woman, 8 years old, an 8-year-old dragon girl. Okay, is she a dragon? Is she a girl? Yes. And Manjushri Bodhisattva talks about her virtues. Distinguished, right? Full of blessings, full of wisdom. However, Shariputra, notice this ends with, she has attained enlightenment. Shariputra, in the Lotus Sutra, gets slammed, gets dissed, right? This is, there are other parts of the Buddha's stories where Shariputra is indeed the wisest of all disciples. And it's just from the perspective of the Lotus Sutra, he is seen as cranky, kind of nagging a little bit, unhappy. He doesn't believe that a woman can attain Buddhahood. He says, that's not according to Dharma. How could this 8-year-old girl become a Buddha? How could she get enlightened, right? He's complaining. In response to Manjushri's statement and Shariputra's complaint, the dragon girl says, here, take my pearl. Now, what do we know about dragons and pearls? They don't let them go. They will not let go of their pearls. They love their pearls most of all. The dragon girl says, yours. I'd like to offer this to the Buddha. Please accept it. The Buddha accepts the offering of the pearl, which is the most valuable possession. And instantly, Dragon Girl turns into a perfected male bodhisattva and attains enlightenment. Okay, whoa, there's a lot here, right? There's a commentary by a scholar named Schuster who says, directed against the notion that only men's bodies can become a Buddha, females cannot. So this story, the saga of the Dragon Girl, has prompted a lot of debate over the years. Is it the case that women are unfit? You know, here's a female heroine who has become a Buddha. She transformed into a male body after she let go of her pearl. Well, I think it's actually beyond gender. The important thing, to my mind, here is that the dragon girl offers her most prized possession, her Chintamani, to the Buddha, becomes a man and enlightened on the spot. She is able to give up what is hard to renounce, and the letting go and seeing through and putting down of self and ego and all the benefits that she's learned as a dragon that she's supposed to have. She lets all that go. That's what brings her to awakening. So that's a Dharma teaching regardless of gender, beyond gender. All right, there we go. So look at this. The Chintamani, this wish-fulfilling gem, when we get to Chinese folklore and the lore, the teaching of dragons becomes something very profound. And again, mind you, we're in a spiritual realm. I don't see dragons. They are so present in Buddhist teaching that there's a chengyu, there's an idiom. It says, Tianlong Babu. The gods, or the devas, the dragons, and the Eightfold spiritual pantheon are always there. In fact, if we had to look into when we are requesting Dharma and doing our invocation, we are asking the gods, the dragons, the Eightfold pantheon to draw near and to protect our assembly and to bless everyone listening, right? I remember one day, City of 10,000 Buddhas had its grand opening. Kaiguang, 1979, Three Steps, One Bow had arrived 2 months earlier. Guests had come from Malaysia. K. Sri Damananda, the great Sri Lankan bhikshu from Brickfields in KL, had arrived with his delegation. And there were, politicians and guests, and the cooks had been cooking for days, right? And I walked into the Medicine Buddha Hall and saw, I was still keeping my vow of silence, but here was Master Hua sitting at a table, and he said, "Hey, Guozhen, 天龙八部都来了，你看，他们就在那儿." He said, "The gods, the dragons, and the Eightfold Division have all come. They're right there. Can you see them?" And I'm like, 看到了吗？看不见是吗？ So for Master Hua, this was factual, Of course, ordinary vision can't see them. We're in that realm when we're talking about mani pearls, mani jewels, okay? So, last week we were talking about oceans and their qualities. The week before that, we were talking about magic mountains. All of these, the Avatamsaka Sutra is giving to us not as literary creations. It's not figurative, right? It's the Avatamsaka is always an instruction manual, a booklet, a how-to, right? However, there are different levels of consciousness, different levels of cultivated awareness of the mind that we bring to look at the Avatamsaka. It's not the sutra's fault that we can't see the dragons or the pearl, mani pearl. It's that we haven't activated that level of awareness yet. Maybe you have, I hope so. And yet it's the path to doing that is always open. Okay, mani pearls. When you look at what are called the 42 hands and eyes, 42 手眼, Guanyin Bodhisattva's special secret dharmas. There is the Rui Ju Shou. Master Hua gave us a verse. Bring a little bigger there. You can read it. He said, oh, here we go. 清香宝鼎画3000，如意金鳌有9圈9渊，善财龙女笑喧喧，佛教妙法如药餐。Pure fragrances from the jeweled censer transform the universe. The wish-fulfilling golden tortoise roams through 9 harbors. Sudana and the dragon girl laugh with glee. Come investigate the Buddha's wonderful Dharma. Okay, that's a 4-line verse that Shifu wrote to accompany his explanation of the 42 hands and eyes. I realized I didn't give you a photo of Long Nu as she appears with Guanyin. Let's see if I can pull one up quickly. It's probably worth it. Shan, let's see here. Shan Cai Long, Long, Long Nu. Shan Cai Long Nu. Okay, let's see here. Long Nu. In the here we are. Okay, so when you see Guanyin and you see that little girl, that's the dragon girl. She's there with Sudana, accompanying Guanyin. Okay, that's who you've seen all this time. And Sudana is depicted as this little boy, kind of a baby with little braids on his head and all. That's unfortunate that he got, that when you think of Sudana, we think of him that way, because the Avatamsaka gives us a strapping, vigorous adolescent going to maturity, closer to 20, you know, who is a pilgrim who travels for 12 years seeking the Dharma, not a baby. That's an iconographic aberration. So anyway, but here's the dragon girl. That's the one who likewise got attached to Guanyin Bodhisattva instead of the 8-year-old who gave her pearl to the Buddha. So when you see the two of them, these two young people together, that's who you're seeing. That's the story that created these figures. And then as you see, it gets expanded and, you know, out to where all kinds of commercialized images arise, right? So here we are, right? That's who that is. That's the dragon girl. Alrighty. Now, when I was describing this to my research to Dharma Master Jin Chuan, he mentioned that Dragon Ball X was a video game that captivated people worldwide. Dragon Ball began as an anime in Japan, and then became began as a manga, and then became an anime, and it had like 270 episodes or something like that, in various iterations. So, and the balls that you had to get to attain certain powers in this manga series had something to do with the wish-fulfilling pearl. Something. Okay, there we go. things to learn about the Mani pearl. Oh my goodness. Okay, we've got one more chunk of text. What we haven't explored, the question still to answer is stage number 10, how does it fulfill wishes? What is it? We haven't talked about the magical qualities. We've talked about the Ti and the Xiang, the substance and the appearance. But how does it work? What's with the Ru'i part, the wish fulfilling part? Why is it so magical that according to the king's intent, the pearl up on the banner fulfills the heart's desires of living beings? I can hear Master Hua saying, look into it. Ru Yao Can, look into it yourself. Don't ask me. It's wonderful. You should believe it. Okay, here we go. 佛子当知菩萨依复如是，有10种事，处过众生。何等为10？一者发一切智心，二者持戒脱脱，正性明净，三者诸禅三昧，圆满无缺，四之道行清白，理诸垢秽，五者方便神通，内外明彻，六者缘起智慧，善能钻穿，七者观以种种方便智律，八者止于自在高创之上，九者观众生行，放温持光，十者受佛制止，堕在佛树，能为众生广作佛事。Alrighty, here it is. Disciples of the Buddha, be aware that the Bodhisattva similarly encounters 10 circumstances where he surpasses the multitudes of sages. What are these 10? 1, he brings forth the resolve for omniscience. 2, his upright practices, precept discipline, and cultivation of asceticism are bright and exemplary. 3, his practice of meditative samadhi is complete and flawless. 4, his pursuit of the way is pristine and free from defilement. 5, his expedient spiritual abilities are transparent inside and out. 6, his wisdom concerning conditioned arising skillfully threads through. 7, his teachings are strung together with threads of wise expedient means. 8, he's elevated on a lofty banner of sovereignty. 9, contemplating the behaviors of sentient beings, he sends forth radiance of learning and sustaining. 10, he's appointed to the Buddha's role and is numbered among the Buddhas and can do the deeds that Buddhas do for sentient beings on a vast scale. Right. This is the second side of the analogy, right? Recalling how analogies work. We want to know what this is, but we don't. So we're shown this, which we know, and then said, like this, what we're familiar with, this too, and we fill that in. That's how analogies work. So we found out about the Mani gem, Mani pearl, which we didn't know about to begin with, but now we do a little bit. And by knowing a little bit about the Mani jewel, we know more about the Bodhisattva. So he encounters 10 circumstances where the 10th stage Bodhisattva goes beyond other enlightened beings. What are they? He wants to get wise. Omniscience is ichie. He wants that light clarity of mind. 2, and what is that like? That's like the first stage of happiness. So there's 10 of these. They're linked to the 10 stages. 2, his upright practices, precept discipline, and asceticism are bright, just like the second, Li Go Di, right? The first one was Huan Xi Di, second, Li Go Di, the stage beyond defilement. 3, his practice of samadhi is complete. He can really meditate. 10th-stage Bodhisattva can do it, like the Fa Guang Di, the emitting light stage. 4, his pursuit of the way, his Dao Xin, always looking for principle, always looking for truth, not satisfied with accommodation. Good enough? We want the Tao. We want that balanced middle way. Free from defilement, pristine, just like the Fang Yan Di. Then what? His expedient spiritual abilities are transparent, in and out, Budong Di, unmoving ground. Spiritual abilities, he can apply those in the world and teach. 6, this is interesting here. 6 is always the, when we're talking about the 10 stages, is always that conditioned arising one, right? The 12 links. Man, I have to say, when you approach your Buddha studies chapter in your world religions class, right? They list, what do they always start with the Four Noble Truths. 4 Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the 12 links. And diligent students go, oh, 4 Noble Truths. Yeah, suffering, accumulating, cessation, and the way, right? Very good, very good. What about the 8? Oh, the 8. Okay, the Eightfold Path. Well, I know they're all right intention, right views. I think Samadhi's in there, and the others. 8 too many. 4 we can do. 8 too many. Go to the 12 links. People go, the 12 links. Nobody digs into the 12 links. It's rare, right? To have somebody say, oh, 12 links. Oh, ignorance. Ignorance conditions activity. Activity conditions action. Activities, consciousness. Consciousness, name and form. Name and form, the 6 entrances. That's rare. And I was that way too. 12 of anything. How do you memorize 12 things? So when I got to the 6th stage of the 10 stages, here was the 12 links repeated 10 times, 10 iterations of the 12. And I remember reading it, and it was like, oh my God, this is impenetrable. This is so hard, But then Professor Nakasone, my mentor, said, Hung Sure, don't look down on the 12 links. Pratitya Samutpada is the Buddha's most important contribution to world religions, to religious philosophy. He understood how the mind works to create things. This is it. Look, dig it up, work on it. So, okay. And with that injunction, and then the opportunity when I got to explain the 10 stages chapter, thought, okay, finally, here's my chance to see if I can't crack the code of the 12 links of conditioned arising, right? Conditioned co-production. And Doug Powers was teaching it also at Dharma Realm Buddhist University. And he wasn't using the Avatamsaka, he was using another, but he was saying, oh man, this is absolutely the most important stuff, So I worked on it with the commentary from Master Hua, Shifu's commentary when he explained this, and also the commentary of Master Chengguan, Qingliang Guoshi, Master Clear and Cool, the Tang Dynasty Avatamsaka Bodhisattva, they call him, which was available in the Huayan Suchao, the double commentary on the Avatamsaka. And somehow, with all that encouragement, the door of the 6th stage opened up. And there it was. Not only was it approachable and understandable, but it went from 1 to 12 and then again 1 to 12. It was always done twice. The first is, if you have ignorance, it will, because you're a living being, it will inevitably lead to activities. And Shifu would say, what that means is, why do boys pursue girls? Why do girls pursue boys? Why, when you look at that special person, you feel so confused and your knees turn weak? You want to know why? Ignorance. I don't know, Shifu. Something made me have those thoughts. I don't know, Shifu. Ignorance, he would say. That's why. That's what the Buddha is talking about. It's like, oh, suddenly it's like, that's close. Yeah, that's a little uncomfortable. Yeah. And then he would say, okay, well, why do when those activities arise, what happened? Consciousness. Now you have these thoughts. You have false thoughts in your mind. Oh, and so it's like, I applied Shifu's very, real world, sandals on the pavement, rubber hits the road description of what the Buddha is talking about, and it made sense. They go from one all the way from ignorance, conditions, drags, activities, wuming enshing. It drags things that start moving, right? In darkness, your mind produces these false thoughts, all the way to you bei ku nao, sheng si. Sheng si you bei ku nao. Birth and death and all the attendant sufferings that come from losing our loved ones, right? Which is 12. And then here's the magic that just opened up for me this time when I tried it, it says, however, it's not negative, it's not pessimistic, it's not shaoji, What is it? He said, if you cultivate and you understand, if you break through, and that's the language they use, the ignorance, guess what? You also get rid of those attendant false thoughts. When those attendant false thoughts are gotten rid of, wu ming mie, 就行灭，行灭是失灭，失灭是明四灭，明四灭是六入灭, right? When you can be done with ignorance, then no more false thinking. When false thinking ends, guess what? Consciousness is a choice you make. It's not linked automatically. Once consciousness is over, then guess what? Then name and form. That whole function in the mind that automatically creates all the way to birth and death, suffering, misery, and grief, over. So the second time through is liberation. It's a creation story. That was the awareness I came to this time when I touched phase 6, the 6th phase of the 12 links, of the 6th phase of the 10 stages, right? Stage number 6 is about the 12 links, right? Xian Qian Di, it's called. The appearance, coming into being. It's Buddhism's creation story. And when this suddenly, I remember I was lecturing, like the 3rd lecture on the 6th stage, it was like, you realize what this is? This is Buddha, this is the Buddha putting a microscope of his samadhi on the functions of the mind as it creates suffering and suffering's end. And I thought, wow, Professor Nakasone was correct. This is a huge contribution to, you could say, religious science, spiritual science, looking at where we go wrong, where the trouble comes from, and how to fix it is right here. This description is so mechanical, so empirical, right? Watch, the Buddha says, watch how this happens. Linking step by step by step, all the way from the mind, a thought in the mind, to birth and death, or its end and liberation. It's like, whoa. So, what does it say? His wisdom concerning conditioned arising skillfully threads through Threads through what? The Mani pearl with a string? Yeah, in the Mani pearl analogy, but it skillfully threads through the 12 links leading to suffering or suffering's end. And how incredible to have that in the Avatamsaka Sutra. The 6th stage is about that. And it takes you through 10 versions of it. So you understand it. You understand 1 is enough. It gives you 10 because it's the Avatamsaka. And then after you go, Eureka, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Then it says, but don't pick that up, because why? That's the Pracheka Buddha. You want the Bodhisattva. You want the Bodhi resolve. So it's like, oh, but I just understood it. Okay, put it in your medicine kit and keep going. You want the Bodhi resolve. You want living beings are infinite. The suffering, Zhongshan Wubian, there are no end to living beings. I'm going to cross them all over. That's the Bodhisattva. The 4 propositions of infinity, right? Afflictions of living beings never end. I'm going to find a way to stop them all, right? Practices, the ways of doing that are boundless. I'm going to master them all. The Buddha's way is perfection. I'm going to get there, right? 众生无边誓愿度，烦恼无尽誓愿断，法门无量誓愿学，佛道无上誓愿成。虽然无上，必定要成佛道, right? So that's, they say, okay, you learned the 12 links, great. Put them aside, keep going. You're not there yet. You want the Bodhisattva path. 7, his teachings are strung with threads of wise, expedient means. 8, he's elevated on a banner of zizai, of wish fulfillment, doing what you want. Contemplating the behavior of beings, he sends forth a radiance of learning and sustaining from the Mani pearl, it is his mind. And he's appointed to the Buddha's role, and he's numbered among the Buddhas. He's not a Buddha yet, but he can do the deeds of the Buddhas for sentient beings on a vast scale. There you go. Whew. Man, the Mani pearl, who knew all this stuff, right? But we're not done, because there's another level of the Mani pearl, the Mani Bao Zhu, the Mani gem, either way, jewel gem, which is what? It's the Chan school's version of the Mani pearl, which is, it's a name for enlightenment. When in Chan Da Zuo, Chanzong, in the Zen world, the Mani pearl is something you attain within when you wake up. It's completely metaphorical. It's not the dragon. It's not Vishnu's Chintamani. It's not the 42 hands and eyes. It's your wisdom that has opened. Here we go. Still working on that. This is the Mani pearl, a treasure still unknown. Look to the Tathagata, but find it on your own. Works in 6 uncanny ways. It's here and now it's gone. Single round and perfect light. Now it's hidden, now it's hidden, now it's shown. That's the note I want. This is the Mani Pearl, a treasure most people don't know. 摩尼珠人不是, right? People don't know it. You look to the Buddha to tell you how to do it, but you find it on your own. How does it work? It works in 6 uncanny ways. 六般善用, 空不空. It's here, but now it's empty. It's a single round and perfect light. Now it's hidden. Oh, there it is. Oh, and it's gone. So, beautiful verse showing this dynamic quality of the Mani Pearl, Mani Jewel. It's real if you're awake, and it works, but it's hidden. Nobody knows it. It's uncanny. It's perfect light, round and beautiful. And there it is, and it's gone. So there's this breathing quality. Beautiful verse. 摩尼珠人不是如来藏里亲受得六般身用空不空一刻圆光色非色 Right? So this is the Master Yongjia Dashi, Great Master Yongjia's Song of Enlightenment, Mani Pearl. Then he goes like this. Once you get the root, you can let the branch tips be. Like a jeweled moon that shines in lapis lazuli. Now that you have understood this wish-fulfilling gem, your benefits to self and others truly never end. Once you get the root, meaning once you find your mind, let the branch tips be. They will grow on their own. It's just like a jeweled moon that shines in lapis lazuli, just like that. You know how that is, right? Now that you've understood this Rui Jewel, this wish-fulfilling gem, your benefits to self and others truly never end. In other words, once you wake up, this is called the Song of Enlightenment, right? Once you wake up, it functions in wonderful ways. Benefits to self and others truly never end. 当得本莫求末，入境琉璃含包月。入境劫此如一珠，自利利他众不绝。And then near the end of the Song of Enlightenment, there's 62 verses, but there is this one, the last one. It goes, the king among all dharmas, there's nothing more sublime. As every Tathagata together realized, hear my explanation of this wish-fulfilling jewel. Everyone who picks it up in faith will know the truth. The king among all dharmas, Fa Zhong Wang, Zui Gao Shang. As every Tathagata together realized, Yiche Rulai Tong Gong Zhang. Hear my explanation of this wish-fulfilling jewel, the Rui Jewel. Everyone who picks it up in faith will know the truth. So, here are 3 verses from the Song of Enlightenment that Master Chengguan, Master Yongjia strung together as the Song of Enlightenment. And that's this other Chan school Zen explanation of what is the wish-fulfilling pearl after all. They say it's the mind once you wake up. It functions in 6 uncanny ways. It's here and now it's gone. A single round and perfect light. Now it's hidden, now it's shown. So having shared all this, I don't know if people feel they understand the Mani pearl any better than when we started. It's really, it's mysterious. It's part of the magical spiritual world, and yet from all these different aspects, Indian folklore, Chinese folklore, all of the stories of dragons, the Chan school, you know, and now the Avatamsaka Sutra saying, just like a Mani pearl, you somehow get it from the dragons in the ocean and polish it up, string it through, put it on a banner, and according to the king's intent, or the sage, or the Buddha, it fulfills your wishes. The如意珠, Guan Yin's 42 hands show the Mani jewel. Restored Bodhisattva depends on it to save beings from the sufferings in the hells, right? So there we are. That's the next piece of the 10th stage. We're almost done with the prose. We'll be back soon with 40 verses. It takes 40 verses for Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva to explain everything he wants us to know about the 10th stage. Alrighty, I've got the Berkeley Monastery website up. Would one of the bhikshus from Berkeley Monastery share something about the schedule coming up this week in Berkeley?
Yes, hello, it's Jinwei speaking. So tomorrow we have an event, like in the end of every month. We will recite Great Compassion Mantra 21 times and send the merit and virtue from the practice of 1 month of recitation Great Compassion Mantra by people around the globe. And you can find all information on our website, 6:30 a.m. California time to 7:30 a.m.
So do people have to sign up or can you just pop in?
You can tap in. You can see is the Zoom link over there available, and this is the same Zoom link like for all others Dharma activities we have through the day, like for morning ceremony, for meditation, bowing, or evening ceremony.
Alrighty, and I see there's also Vietnamese translation.
Yeah, for those who need. So we recite it 21 times. It will be some Dharma reflections, and we transfer merit, and people join from around the globe. We have people from Asia, from Europe, US, and so forth. Very wholesome activity. So please join us if you wish.
Outstanding. Okay, otherwise, here's our standard Berkeley Monastery online schedule. And I might add that the dragons at the Berkeley Monastery all have their pearls. Beautiful stained glass dragons on the windows. Each one of them is chasing its own pearl. So these are the events that take place a day in a virtual monastery. And some of them are on Zoom, some of them are on YouTube. You have to register for the Zoom events, but it's painless. It's easy to do. So there we are. Indeed. Okay, let us now, some folks around the world, in the US and other places, have gotten their COVID-19 vaccination already. And I might add that Master Hua strongly encouraged his disciples to take advantage of vaccination to get your shot. And I'm sure he would for COVID-19. And his point of view was consistent. I mean, it will protect you, but it's what it does for others. Master Hua's frame of reference was always service, was beyond my benefits. In fact, he would say, Yao Chi Kui, what the disciple of the Buddha does is he's willing to take the short end of the stick to benefit others. he's willing to take a loss and get the bad bargain if other people get a benefit. So with that in mind, we absolutely want to get in line, register, get our COVID vaccine shot, get vaccinated, so that we can keep the disease from spreading further, right? So if you don't want to do it for yourself, if you have doubts, do it for others. Put your fears aside, do it for others. There's goodness ahead, right? Meanwhile, by reciting Medicine Buddha's mantra for anointing the crown of the head, we also put out wholesome spiritual vibes. So please transfer merit wherever you would like your merit to go and send it out on the wings of this mantra. Here we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Sajjana Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Masaji Samukate Swaha Bhagavate Sajjana Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Om Vasaji Vasaji Vasaja Samudgate and sneeze, that's twice. Oh, one more time. Om Namo Sajjana Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagata Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adhyata Vasaji Vasaji Vasaja Samudgate Swaha. We can bow to the Buddhas if you care to. I'm going to do it. You're welcome to join me. Do 3 half bows from wherever you're sitting. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. So how many friends were listening on the Chinese line today? 80, my goodness. Do we have a count for YouTube? I'd be curious to find out. We're broadcasting on three different channels. 150 on YouTube. Excellent. All righty. See you all next week. Thanks for joining, everybody.